Hello, this is Minister Joseph. Um, I wanted to come to you and talk to you about those times in your life where you feel as though you've just been torn down and you wonder why God is not answering. You wonder why God is not responding. Um, but yet you feel like you've been uprooted, you've been torn down, you've been devastated, you've been afflicted with some sort of thing, and yet you wonder why you have to go through these things. What's the point of it all? And in the midst of it all, God, you're not answering. You're not paying attention. Are you really there? And I want you to know that with those times, with those periods where you felt this way, you need to understand that just because it may seem as though God is not there, or that he's not answering your prayers, or if he's not moving you out of the situation and making things better, does not mean that God is actually not paying attention to your struggles. What we have to understand is there are times in our lives, in order to teach us some things, in order to prepare us for some things that God wants us to be able to do for the sake of the kingdom, for the sake of the message of Christ, for the sake of providing an example that shows the love of God. First, we've got to go through some situations. First, we have to be torn down in some ways. First, we have to go through some struggles. And that very self same God that allows you to go through these struggles and these hard times is the same God that will establish you and will grow you into something better and better as you continue on with your journey. You see, nothing seems enjoyable when God is allowing you to be uprooted, to be torn down, to be broken down, to be devastated, to be afflicted in some sort of way, whether it's because of illness or whether it's just normal things in your life that seem to be going hell west and crooked. Your relationships, your job situation, your overall home life, your mental status, when it feels as though you're just about at your wits end, where it seems like there's something playing with your mind, and it's causing you to be in a place of oppression and depression and problems with anxiety, worries, things that are going on that you can't seem to make your way through. We have to understand that, first of all, God never meant for us to go through these things just by ourselves. It's not in his plan for us to be going through these things alone, but yet we must recognize and understand that regardless to what's going on, even in those times where God has to tear you down a bit in order to build you up, he's still right there. He's still right there. He's still watching over you. He's still paying attention to what all is going on in your life. And you have to understand that the things you're going through have a purpose. They have a plan. They have a reason. Yes, it's grievous when you're going through these types of struggles and when you're dealing with these types of hard times. But it's through the struggles, it's through the pain, it's through those times where we're just being torn apart, it seems, that the process that is being utilized in order to get us through does have a work that happens in us that builds us up and that makes us stronger and builds more of God's character within us. We just have to recognize it and understand it so that we can continue to go through enduring hardness as a good soldier. We can't get so caught up in our emotions and in our feelings concerning the circumstances, and not be able to recognize God's hand in the situation. The word still says he's never left us nor forsaken us. He will be with us until the very end. That's even during those times where he has to allow us to be broken down a bit so that he can turn around and create something new within us. Yes, it may seem like your life is going cattywampus and crazy. Yes, it may seem as though you don't know how you're going to make it through, and you pray and you ask God to get you through and to help you to come out of the situation, but it doesn't seem like it's ending anytime soon. Well, we have to understand that long suffering creates endurance. But you have to go through a thing for a little while in order for that endurance to come into play. The struggle that you go through that you can't seem to get out of so quick is a process that God is using to build something within you. So we must understand that God has a work for us. He's got things for us to do. And sometimes we have to go through these times of being torn down and broken down, so on and so forth, in order for us to be once again built up. You know, the word talks a lot about seed time and harvest. Talks about planting seeds and growing these things and producing a crop. And there is fruit that God desires to produce in you. But in order for those things to happen, first, the ground has to be broken. First, the seed has to die and has to become something else. And Jeremiah, goodness, it's, I believe, the 31st chapter, round about the 28th verse, says that basically that the same God who has watched over you to be afflicted, to be torn down, to be uprooted, to be devastated in some ways. All of these things that you go through that you think God is not there for, He's the same God who will then watch over you as you begin anew, being planted and being rooted. And He's actually the one who's doing the planting and the rooting. See, you have to understand something. Your deeds or your misdeeds, however, may have planted you into some situations that you weren't ready for. Your bad habits or your wrong thoughts may have placed you in a situation, in a place where things are difficult, where things are harsh and they're kind of devastating. It may have placed you in a place where your health is not so great. And it seems like you're enduring a lot of things that have you sick and have you in pain at times. But we have to recognize and understand that even in this, God is doing a new thing inside of us. But can you perceive it? God never allows you to go through a period of being torn down or broken down or afflicted without working something out in that thing for your own good. But how do we know what He's doing inside of us? How do we know where He's working things out for our good, even in the situations and the times where we feel at our worst? Well, I'm glad you asked. The way you do that is, as opposed to complaining, as opposed to being so upset and broken that you go to your friends or you go to your family members asking different questions or trying to figure it out that way, instead of you trying to handle the situation on your own and bring yourself out of the situation. Instead, just ask the Lord. Find out what it is that He wants to do in your life concerning the current situation. Ask Him what it is that He wants you to learn from the present trial. Talk to Him about the circumstance and see where it is that He wants you to act or wants you to do or sit still, or what He wants you to pray about concerning this thing, so that you can be able to get through the situation with the divine direction and instruction that God gives you, so that you can make it out in a positive way, so that you can be planted in the right place, so that you can be rooted and grounded in the right things, and so you can begin to grow and produce the type of fruit that God wants to produce in you. It's all for your good, even when it seems like it's so very bad. You see, the word says as well in Jeremiah chapter 31, around about the third verse, it says, "Yes, I've loved you with an everlasting love, And with loving kindness have I drawn you. This same God who allows you to go through these rough and bitter times is the same God who is drawing you closer to Him through your afflictions, drawing you closer to Him through those things that break you down and tear you up. It's not for you to feel as though you're alone and that you're struggling all by yourself and that God doesn't have anything to do with you or that He's angry or frustrated with you or upset with you. No, no, baby, it's not that at all. But through these afflictions, through these issues that you have in your life, through these hard times, it's designed to pull you closer to God, to draw you nearer to Him, to help you to recognize that He, above all else, truly loves you and that He wants to help you to get through these situations. He wants to bring you out of the circumstance. He wants to build you up and grow you into something new and something better, something stronger and something fortified through His indwelling spirit. But in order for you to do that, you have to come to the end of yourself and begin to truly live out this relationship with Christ, the author and finisher of your faith. You can't make it through without being close to God. You can't make it out okay without being close to God. But with loving kindness has He drawn you. And He's looked over you even in your times of affliction, so that in due season He can replant you and grow you into something better. It's time that we come to the end of ourselves. It's time that we stop getting so caught up in our struggles that we forget that we have a God who loves us so much that He's working all things out for our good. So that situation you're going through right now that seems insurmountable, it's for a reason. There's a plan behind it. Those afflictions that have you aching and hurting late in the midnight hour, those are part of a process and a plan that will build something in you that God wants to use for His glory. Those relationship issues, those problems that you're having that seem so devastating, those are plucked up and uprooted so that He can give you something greater and better. It's all to draw you closer to Him so that He can be your sole source for all that is good and perfect in your life. So He can build you up and make you even better than you've ever been before. So that your life will be a reflection of His love and His grace and His mercy. That it might be a living testimony to His goodness that someday will help somebody else who may be going through the same struggles that you're going through. It's not just for you to be in pain. It's not just for you to be going through. It's not just for you to be hurting and just for you to feel like you're all alone. But there is a method and a process that if you can get past yourself, you can begin to be planted and grown into something great. God has not left you. He's not forsaken you. He'll never leave you alone. He'll never leave you by yourself. So just understand and recognize that you're being broken so you can be replanted. You're going through so that you can start again and come out better. God desires to replant you. He desires to replant you. So let Him uproot you. Let Him tear down that old thing that has you still going back to the same old stuff. That old crop that just keeps going bad and keeps going back to the drugs or the alcohol or or to the things that make your body hurt. And just recognize that God wants to break things down so he can rebuild you, so he can uproot you, so he can grow you into something new and something better for his glory. I pray that this message is encouraging and that it gives you some insight and that it may help you to endure hardness as a good soldier. Remember, he loves you. With loving kindness has he drawn you. Why? Because he truly loves you with an everlasting love. With an everlasting love. God bless you. And may God replant you into a new thing that can be used for his glory.